Hello, good afternoon. I hope you can all hear me. Drago, can you hear me? Can anyone hear me? Can you please just say hello? So I know you're hearing. All right, it's perfect. Thank you. We're not that much people, I can see. It's kind of late in the afternoon, maybe. So for those who don't know me, my name is Ketil Skanke. I work as a principal cloud architect at a company called Cloudeight from Norway. I blog at a page who is you can find on msendpointmanager.com, and you can find me on Twitter on the alias you see on your screen here. So today we are going to talk about the log analytics of MEM. So this was a session idea I got actually a year ago, started working on looking into how we could utilize log analytics in a way that we can have more insight into our client management, client status, compliance, audit, and the rest of the stuff that we care about around our client estate. So of course, it's not going to be like a fully deep dive into all the areas, but we will try to get through the basics. So we're going to have start with an intro. Why log analytics? What is log analytics? We're going to go into what's the get started with what's the built-in logs and reports inside the Endpoint Manager console. We'll dive a little bit in and write our own queries. Then we'll go a little bit deeper, do more with your data, get your own data, and visualize the data. And then we're going to look into alerting at the end of the alerting and monitoring at the end. Let's get started. So why would we use log analytics? So traditionally, we have typically been looking at logs when something happened. So if something was wrong with the client, we go and say, hey, need to check the log on the client. Maybe we have some event log forwarding to help us. But most of the time, we would go and manually fetch logs, or we would have like third-party solutions to gather logs from the client so we can have some kind of insight. One of the issues with the traditional method, it's kind of either or. It's either you don't have enough data, or there is data overload, or maybe even the data is all over the place. You have some logs on the server, some logs on config manager server, some log in the AD controller, you have some log on the clients, maybe some log in a third-party application. And then it's like, where are we starting? Should we start here or there to troubleshoot that incident or the user issue with that client? So if you look at log analytics, it's more proactive. We gather logs constantly all the time from all the services that the client talks to. And of course, it depends on a little bit on what you have on your clients, whether or not the amount of logs you get. For instance, if you have Microsoft Defender for Endpoints, or Defender ATP, as we most likely know it as, we would get much more client logs than we would do without it. We can do automation. So it means we can build automation on top of the logs. So we can do some log queries and then respond to those results by adding automation and functionality on top of that. It's easy to filter out what we need in log analytics, and it's built in to Azure. It's not bolted on top of it. It's just built in, and we can consume as needed. And also, if you actually need to have more data than what's natively built in, we can use, for instance, Graph API together with automation to gather more data. So what is Log Analytics basically? So it's the log service of Azure. And of course, it can be used for much more stuff than what we care about in the client management space. The most important thing we are looking for when we work with client management, at least from my side, is we are looking at logs from Intune, and we're looking at the Azure AD logs. So that's two locations we can gather logs from. But if you do more, so you can easily integrate and use monitoring agents, so you can have DNS logging and Azure, Active Directory logging from on-prem, and you can get logs from multiple locations and visualize everything in one place. So why would we use Log Analytics? We get easy insights by merging our data sources. We can analyze metrics, so we can see, for instance, how many clients have rebooted the last couple of weeks, or how long is it since the different clients have did a restart. It's all kind of stuff metrics we can look at. We can filter, sort, and group data as we want. Of course, we can always leverage the built-in reporting, or we can build our own reporting. Can be used for monitoring, can be used for alerting, can be used for automation, and it's most of the times is quick, really quick. But it depends on your query. If you write your queries poorly and you write really complex queries, it can really also be slow. So you need to define your queries with some insight into the query language. So let's get started. So within Intune, let's start with Intune, right? Intune has some built-in Azure or Log Analytics logs and some workbooks. And what we can do is have a look at the built-in logs. So there are 3 workbooks that comes with Endpoint Manager, which if you don't set up the forwarding of your data to Log Analytics will just be empty. So we need to set it up so we can send the default logs to Log Analytics. Then we can utilize the built-in workbooks and reports. And if you look into the report UI in Endpoint Manager, you will see there are more reports than these workbooks. And those reports are not based on Log Analytics, but they are based on Graph, which again is something we could utilize if we wanted to build our own workbooks to gather data from more sources. But if it's a workbook, the data is already in Log Analytics. So I'm missing the header here. So the header here should be demo. So the demo, I had an incident with my deck like 1 hour ago where I kind of lost everything. So you have to bear with me for a second. So let's just start with looking at, before I show you, let me do like this. And if we look at, if you go into the Endpoint Manager console, endpointmanager.com, you click on reports, right? And in here, we will have reports on device compliance. We will can have reports on Windows updates. This is in preview. We can have some report on Defender antivirus. And at the end here, we have some workbooks and we have Log Analytics. So let's start with the workbooks. So to get these workbooks to actually show us any kind of data, we need to first go into diagnostic settings and make sure we forward our logs to a Log Analytics workspace that you can see over here. So what you would do if this is blank, you click on Add Setting, you call it something, demo, and you send all these logs, audit log, operational logs, and compliance logs, and you send them to a log analytics workspace. So let's find a workspace. This is the one I already have. So this is one how you can do this. And if you want to have the data stored for more than the built-in 30 days, and you don't want to extend your time where the log is kept, you can now also archive this directly to a storage account where you can start adding retention. So then you can add retention up to 365 days. And that means after 30 days, the logs are moved into this storage account that you selected. So if you selected this storage account here, then the logs would be collected into the storage account after 30 days. But we have to remember that if the logs are moved to the storage account, you can't just query them directly from Log Analytics anymore. That's more for archiving the logs and to bring them up if there is an incident that goes really back in time and we really need to dig deep to get the answer you're looking for. So when this is set up with the Log Analytics, come on. When this is set up and you have the logs, of course, it's not going to be instantly that you have a lot of data. You have to give it a cloud minute, and then after some while, you will see that the logs starting to come in. And from the time you turn this on and forward, that's what you will have the logs for. It doesn't collect any logs back in time when you set it up. So we have done this, and then we can look at the workbooks. So the workbooks in here, we have audit activity, enrollment activity, and compliance activity. So if we look at audit activity, and we can sort on the last 30 days, and we can look at all the audit events in a nice chart here on time and everything, and we can see who's doing what. If you go back, we also have the enrollment activity. We don't have a lot of enrollment in our tenants, but if I go back and look at last 90 days, we can see the enrollment graph start to pop up. We have some failures. We have user enrollment, Azure AD join, bulk join, Apple bulk with user. So you can see this kind of insight. And this is all collected by logs. We're going to go back to what's behind this in the next step. So these are the built-in, and we also have the compliance activity here. And we can also go back and see last 90 days. And then you can see the trends on compliance over time. And you can see the main reason for not being compliant, what always is not compliant, and so on and so forth. So with the workbooks, we do get some insights. But again, it's just the overall insight. It doesn't give you the details. And if you want to have details, you really need to go dig deeper. So if you look at the device compliance here, if I click on refresh over here, what we're doing, we're telling Microsoft Graph to go and collect data and then present a report for us on live data. So this is not log-based. This is more based on the actual state at our environment at this time. So this tells us that we have 21 compliant devices, 1 is non-compliant. And if we also here, we can click on report and we can look at trends in here as well. And it will show us the trends over time. But this is not based on log analytics. It's based on gathering data from graph reporting. Same we have here on the reporting. We also have the Defender antivirus. We can look at the antivirus agent status. We need to generate a report because it doesn't store data over time. It's just instant report on where we are right now. And it will show us the status of the antivirus agent on all our devices. It takes a little while to get all the data, but at least we have 12 device states, and then we can see that they're all looking good, and we have one that did a full scan a few days ago. So this is where we can see more data. But again, this is not data that are typically in Log Analytics. It's different kind of data. And of course, also in here, we have the under reports here, we have, no, it's not here. And it's not there. But under here, we have, for instance, monitor where we can see other stuff. And this is also not based on, this is data based on different types of stuff inside Intune, but it doesn't tell us, it's not the log data we're looking at. This is data collected from graph. So if it is a workbook, or if you get it from Log Analytics, we're going to look into this later, it will be based on Log Analytics and not on graph data. So I'm going to drag this one back. So we at how we can set up diagnostics ourselves. So we have the data in Log Analytics. And then we have looked at the built-in reporting, and we have had a look at the built-in workbooks. So let's dive in. Let's start looking at writing our own queries. So with our own queries, we can ask Intune for what we want to know. And with that, of course, we can ask for the same type of data we have in the workbooks, but we can also dig deeper and find more data. We can look at explicitly on that mobile app, who wiped those devices, and we can get more insight on a specific case. So it's all based on Custo queries. So there is a link here. Let me just, for those who don't know, let me see if I can click that link. I'll click the link, and I'll just paste the link in the chat so that you all have the link here. So you can use that for reference later if you want to learn more about the query language. So let's have a look at some of the queries. Let me just find that here. Yes, so let's start simply here and take that one away. So let me see, is this, I'll zoom up a bit. Oh, that's a bit too much. I'll do like this. And if you take the first one here and say, I did a custom time range on this because I don't have any wipes the last 24 hours. So if I do the wipe manage device, I get here that myself, that's me, wiped a device the 5th of November, and I wiped a device in September. And here I can also go and dig deeper. And of course, I can find out more about me, who did this, who did the wipe. We can also, here is the target object ID. This is the managed device ID. This is the, if you go even deeper here, we can find more and more. And then we can also see, do we want to keep enrollment data? False. And then we can dig deeper into these details. And of course, if you want to add to this query, we can say we only want to find where the result was success. Let me just mark that query, and I'll do result type include success. It should just, okay, yeah, it did here. And then you see here, I can easily add to this query, and I also can go in and say, I can fetch where the application, where it was done from, and then I can do include only thing that was done from the portal, or I can do only thing done from PowerShell or Graph, and then we will get the same data because it's the same query. If I want to ask for wipes that didn't succeed, I just do like a negative one. and I should probably get 0 data. So this is how we can build our own queries. And if we want to, we looked at the built-in report for the audits, and then we can do this and generate our own data. And then you can see here, we have all the different action types, and there is a count per action, and then we can see what kind of actions are mostly used and how they are looking in the environment. And we can also go back and say, hey, I want to check this for just the last 24 hours. And then we can see this is all the changes that was done in the environment the last 24 hours. The other thing is here I'm asking actually the logs in Azure Active Directory to see, did anyone actually expose their BitLocker key? So this shows me that me, again, read the BitLocker key of these 3 different devices. We have some device IDs here, and that's the device IDs I looked at the key for. So the next question I would ask myself is, so somebody looked at the keys, and then I would like to know, are those keys, for instance, been rotated, been changed after? And then I'll click on this, and I'll see here that one key was rotated from the portal by me, and then we have this other one here that's been rotated by an application. And I'll get back to this application later, because this is how we can tie everything together. So we can go here and look at the compliance and see, is there any devices that's not compliant? Yeah, this device is reporting as not compliant the last 24 hours. You can see the last time we had contact with it. And then you can see how long the grace period is, for instance. We can also look at the enrollments. And this is typically, we click here, we write our own, look at the operational logs, and then we can find the different type of enrollments done in that period of time. That's how we can build our own queries, right? So let me see, write our own queries, yeah. And then with this, we can go, when we learn how to write the queries, we can go even deeper. So if you want to do more with your data. So one example, and one thing I've been working a lot with lately, is using graph and automation together to grab more data, because not every solution has the built-in diagnostic yet. And one of these things that doesn't have that is endpoint analytics. So proactive remediation is basically it's running scripts, and then it reports back to Intune whether or not your device is good or bad, and gives output based on the output from the script on what the status is for any kind of issue you might have. And so we can use then automation or a script to get this data from graph, and then we get the data into Log Analytics, and then we can start querying this data as well inside Log Analytics. I'll show you how that works as well. So this is an example for security auditing, where we can find out what kind of antivirus is running on your clients. Are they, if you are moving from one vendor to another, you can see what's the status today. Did we manage to move them all? How many devices are still running Kaspersky when they should be running Defender? One example. Another one is BitLocker. Is the BitLocker actually working on the devices? Are they encrypted? What kind of encryption strength do they have? Are they using 256 or are they using 128? So this is one of the things that we can also look at. So now I'm going to go into another demo. I don't like slides that much. I try to keep the slides down and the demo up. So we're going to look at how to gather logs with automation and graph, how we can do some parsing and querying and visualize the data inside of our own. And then we're going to build our own workbook after. So let's go and let me just find the correct window in here. And here I have an example where I'm using Azure Automation. And in Azure Automation, I have created a PowerShell runbook. And then in this runbook, I am basically what I'm doing is I am querying graph for the result and run state of the different remediation scripts. And then I output the data in a format that I can easily parse inside Log Analytics after the run. So I did run this earlier today. And if you look here on the logs, we can see we have a lot of data coming back from all kind of different scripts. And then going through this like this is kind of hard. And to get this data into Log Analytics, again, you go in here and click on Diagnostics, and you set up forwarding of the logs from your runbook. And then you say you need to log the job stream, which is the output from the runbook, into Log Analytics. So when we have this data, then we can query that data. And let me see. So this is the proactive remediations we're running. And each one of them has, let's look at, for instance, the laptop battery health or the computer uptime here. And then we will see the computer uptime and whether or not they, but if I wanted to really look into the status, I would then need to go in here. I would need to go here, column, and see, I will get the output from the script. And then I could go in here and click on each and one and say, okay, these last three within 1 day. Kind of cumbersome to find these data if you have more than 10 devices. So what we do, oh, now I'm jumping ahead. What we do is that we can go here and run this query where I see, say, Azure Diagnostics, where runbook equals proactive remediation log. This is the runbook I was running. And then I'll take this and I'm asking here for the computer uptime. So the computer uptime script, I can choose another script if I want it. And then I will see here the data. Still, this data is not that easy to see, but I do have the output down here. So let's look into, if you can look at the battery health one. And let me see, where is the battery health? Here. Then I can get the count of the battery level, battery health in my organization. I have 3 computers with 100%, and I have one here with 62%, which is something I might want to look further into. We can look at BitLocker, and then have the BitLocker, and then I can do like this, and I visualize the data, and I can say, okay, out of all of my devices, I have 74% using AES-128 encryption, and I have 5 devices, or 26%, using the 256. And this is kind of easy to, this is just an example of how you can visualize data by using data from different sources. So this is all based on the same data as we have here, but it's just about us actually taking that data where we parse the result string, and we search for the BitLocker compliance runbook and then script, and then we get the data that we want back, and we do a summarize count. So if I don't do the summarize, I will get the same data, but then I will have it in a list, right, for each and every one. So this is much simpler than going into the proactive remediation to look at the data from there. Currently, proactive remediations doesn't support forwarding these data automatically to Intune. but to Log Analytics, but that doesn't mean we can't make it happen ourselves by using automation. So this runbook I showed you, you can set this up to get data from the last 24 hours and then just forward them to logs once a day, and then you will get this data continuously. So we have looked at how to gather logs, to parse and query, and how we can do some simple visualization. But if you really want to have something to look at, I recommend you build your own workbook. We looked at the built-in workbooks, but we can also create our own workbooks. And the best way to start with this is to find a workbook that's already in there, and then you can start looking at how they are building that workbook. So if we go back to this one and click on workbooks, so you can, here is a quick start, it's a default template or it's an empty one, or you have some designer guides here, and then you can look at the designer guides to create your own workbooks, and then it will look at different kind of data. This is taking a little while because it's maybe it's a lot of data in here. So let me say last 30 minutes and refresh. It's getting, today is slow. I just said it was quick, right? This is maybe a bad example. Let's dive into my demo workbook that I actually created in beforehand. So this is how I can take my own data and build my own workbook. So first, it's based on the last 7 days. If I want to change this to the last 30 minutes, I see, okay, there is no data. Nobody did any change the last 30 minutes, but then I can say, okay, the last 12 hours, this is the data, and the last 7 days, this is the data. So then you can see how you can find and quickly look into the different kind of data. So here I am, this is the audit stuff from Intune, which we also have in the built-in report. And then we have the BitLocker stuff that I showed you in Log Analytics, but it's just visualized in a different way. And also here we have the BitLocker status with the different kind of encryption, 128 and 256. And then you can add colors, making it look just nice as you want to. And if you drill down and look at the computer uptime, so this is based on the logs from the automation. And now, but the thing is, we can visualize all of this in one place and build our own monitoring dashboards. And this is all based on the same type of queries. And of course, you can add text and add more images and everything you want in here. So if you click on edit, and then we can click on the top bar, and then you see this is actually markdown text. So you can click on preview and you can do some changes. Hello, everyone. Then I can do like one of these and say hi. And then I can look at preview and I can do, okay, maybe the hi was a bit big. Let's add like this. So I do header 3 instead of header 1. And then I do done editing. And then we see we have the data. We have changed the data. So what I always do is I add something called a parameter. So what you do then is go here and say add, and you add parameter. And the parameter I have added and always add is the time range. So you click on add parameter and you find it and you take the parameter type and say time range picker. That allows you to easily sort this whole workbook based on time that you choose while you go on. So if you look here on the audit stuff, click on edit. We see this is the audit logs, summarize count by operation name, render bar chart. It's not an advanced query at all, right? But you see here that also is important. I say time range. I don't set it to be a fixed time range. I use the time range parameter. So it will change based on my selection on the top of the workbook. And then I can click on done editing. or I can change it and can say not render bar chart. Well, this is actually not a bar chart because in here this will override, so I can do bar chart instead, and then I can say done, and then I will have a different type of view of the same data. So this is all customizable and easily customizable for you. And then I'll just go back to my pie chart and click on done editing, and I will have my data back. It's the same going down here, computer uptime. It's the same type, but the query is a bit more advanced because I am parsing data. I am fetching data from different sources, and I do some ordering, and then I will have this data I want. And here is the list, the detail list. And if I go down here, we can see column settings, and this is where I have defined, just for example, this is based on thresholds, right? So I don't have a lot of devices that haven't booted for a long time, but if you had, you could set the threshold to say devices that haven't booted for, let's say devices that haven't booted for instance, 30 days, you can just change it like this and apply, save and close, and then you'll see the visualization would be different. So this is the kind of simple analytics you can do by building your own workbook. So let's go back to the presentation. And I don't know why I was on the top. And now that we have all this data, we can use this to alert on incidents. We can use it to automate stuff based on the same type of alerts. So this is just an example of a way where you can use Azure Monitor together with a runbook or together with a script or a logic app and actually send data into Teams or email or wherever you want. So this is something I made to make sure that my Apple MDM push certificate doesn't expire without me knowing it. So this is, let's go back here and let me find that, find the monitoring dashboard. Is it here? No, it's not. I'll just need to find it. Yeah, first I can show you actually how you can create an alert. So let's find enrollment run. And if I wanted to create an alert on each time there was an enrollment, so you define your query inside Log Analytics, and then you click here on New Alert Rule. That brings you into the alerting space of Azure Monitor. And then we can look here and say, how many alerts did we have the last 30 minutes? And based on the threshold value of 0, and then we would see how many alerts. And let me go back here, and period of time is 60 hours, and check every 60 minutes, or we can go and check for every, what's a day? 1440, that's once a day. And then we'll see the last 7 days, we didn't have anyone. We click on done. So this will generate an alert. And then we can also, on top of that, we need to set up an action. So let's do some, for instance, we can do email to me, and then I'll do select, and then this will just trigger an email. I'll specify the alert rule name and what's to be in the email, and I can save this alert. So if you look at alerts in here, and I can look here and I can look at the last 30 days, you can see I have 43 alerts with severity 4. I have 1 alert with severity 2. So if you click on this, it will tell me what kind of alert. So this is not directly MEM related. So I'm going to go back here. And let's look at this one. So this is alerts based on, one is device not compliant. That triggers an alert. And then we have the BitLocker remediation, which is another alert. So the BitLocker remediation is kind of an example of how you can bring everything together. So in here, that this alert, and it tells me here, and it looks at the alert state, and we can click on the query, and then it brings you directly into Log Analytics and tell you, okay, so what kind of alert was this? Okay, so it's somebody read the BitLocker key. So the issue with the BitLocker keys in Azure is that I can go in and look at my own BitLocker key if by just going to portal.manage.microsoft.com. Let me just open and show you in here. Just logging on. So if I go into this portal, I can go here, I can click on devices, I can click on this device, and then I can, not from here, sorry, my apps, my bad, my apps, Microsoft.com, you go in here, or my profile. That's where I want to go, actually, it's my profile, view accounts. And here I can click on device. And then from here I can go and just expose the key of this device. I can view BitLocker key, right? And then if I click here on show recovery key on this one, it is going to trigger this alert. The reason I do this is because I don't want anybody to just go in and fetch their BitLocker key, print it out, and stick it on the back of their laptop. So I created this automated solution to remediate for that. So if I look at the alert rule that's behind this, so let's look at the BitLocker remedy. So in here is the query I've shown you a few times. Audit logs where operation name contains read BitLocker key. And then we have our action group here, which is our automation runbook. So that's our runbook, and then I'll need to go to the automation account. I'll look at the automation account. I'll get I think it's in my playground, runbook, BitLocker remedy. And you can see this has run last night. And it's a PowerShell script that just actually it queries Log Analytics directly from the PowerShell script. And then I check, did somebody read the key? Is the key already deleted or being rolled over by Intune? If not, I'm going to kick off tell Intune through graph down here, tell Intune through graph to do the rollover on that device. So if you look at this job and we look at the logs, you see it's been evaluating a couple of devices. You can see the key has been rolled over. And if you go back to the other browser I had here, I think, not this one, it's here. Yeah, we can see it from here, actually, from the runbook. So here we can see we have the 3 keys I read, right? They were read by me. And then we have the application who did the rotating of the BitLocker keys was done by the automation job. So this is how you can tie this all together. And I'm also going to show you a few examples of how we can do the monitoring. And this is another one where I send, I'm just going to show you here on the side. Into monitor, it shows me device not compliant and why it's not compliant. And then I can also look at I have another solution which is based on some more logs and log agent. This is from Patch My PC, where I check how many devices needs to do an update of a third-party application. So all of these different solutions is on our blog. Actually, the BitLocker remedy, the Patch My PC solution, and everything is available from there. If you want to dig deeper into this. Yes. So with that, I want to say thank you and thank the sponsors that were allowing us to have this event so that I could come and speak to you guys. And I think, if I remember correctly, there is still one more session to go today before it gets to the weekend. If you have any questions, it's allowed to unmute or ask a question in the chat. I still have some time for you guys. So that was what I wanted to present. I hope it gave some sense. I'm a bit sorry for the deck because I basically lost everything in the deck I built like 2 hours ago. So I had to find the data from an older deck. So thank you too. Thanks for listening. And if there is no questions, I'm going to just disconnect myself and take the weekend. Yeah, BitLocker Remedy as a service, that's cool. I'm really proud of that one. And actually, I am going to open this one, and I'm going to show you. Yeah. So this is the blog post. If you want to look into the BitLocker stuff, I'm going to paste it in the chat for you. So this is actually, I really like how this is put together. And it explains everything actually better than I did right now. Oh, yeah. Of course, you were not supposed to see that one demo storage I had. I'm sorry for that. I'm glad this is not recorded. So thank you all, and have a great weekend. Goodbye.